Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. My name is Siti Nur Shakira binti Shamsul Baharin. Today, I will be presenting the case of Tan Mei Lee and others v. Blue Fire Developments Neighborhood and another 2025 MLJU 2312. This case involved allegations of email tampering, digital evidence, and cybersecurity expert reports. This case is important because it shows how courts evaluate digital evidence and procedural compliance in legal proceeding. These are the facts of the case. The plaintiff alleged that the second defendant had altered an email attachment by deleting certain paragraph. To support their allegations, they rely on cybersecurity expert reports from Cybersecurity Malaysia, PwC, and Nexia TS Technology. Based on this report, the plaintiff obtained an ex parte leave order to commence committal proceeding. However, the second defendant later applied to set aside the leave order, arguing that there were procedural defects in the application and expert reports. The dispute started because the plaintiff claimed that the email evidence had been manipulated. Next is the issue of the case. So the court considered four main issues. The first one would be whether the digital evidence was sufficient to establish a prima facie case. Second, whether the cybersecurity expert report complied with Order 40A of the Rule of Court 2012, whether the plaintiff provided full frank disclosure when obtaining expert leave, and fourthly, whether the allegations of email tampering could be decided without a full trial involving expert witnesses. So the court needed to decide whether the evidence and procedure used by the plaintiff were legally sufficient or not. Next would be the judgment. The High Court allowed the second defendant applications. The court set aside the expert leave order granted earlier. The court found that no prima facie case had been properly established and the expert report did not fully comply with procedural requirement. The court also found that important limitations in the expert reports were not fully disclosed. Since the allegation involved highly technical cybersecurity issues, they should be examined through a full trial rather than Alvidate's evidence alone. And the court actually ruled in favor of the second defendant and cancelled the earlier leave order. Next would be the analysis and critique. The judgment protects the integrity of the court process. It reinforced the importance of full disclosure and procedural compliance. The decision ensured that the complex cybersecurity dispute are properly examined through a full trial, and it promotes fairness and due process before serious legal action is taken. So, one criticism is that strict procedural requirement may delay accountability. Next would be cybersecurity cases are often highly technical and may require lengthy and costly trials. And a more balanced approach could include temporary safeguards while waiting for a full trial. Basically, the decision promotes fairness, but it may slow down the resolution of digital evidence disputes. Moving forward is the cybersecurity angle. The first one would be the digital forensic evidence. So the case involved allegation of email tampering and document manipulation. Therefore, the digital forensics evidence became a key part of the dispute. Secondly, export reports reliability. So basically, cybersecurity export report must meet legal requirement before they can be accepted by the court. Then would be the digital evidence governance. So the court require complete disclosure of all relevant findings and limitation in expert report. And lastly would be the cybersecurity compliance, which means organization must ensure the digital evidence is collected, preserved, and presented according to the legal standard. So basically, the case shows that the cybersecurity evidence must be accurate, reliable, and legally competent. The next slide would be implication for cybersecurity. So the first point would be the digital evidence management. So organization actually must maintain secure and reliable digital record. Next would be reliability of expert report. Expert report must comply with legal and procedural requirement. Then would be transparency and disclosure. All findings, assumptions, and limitation must be disclosed honestly. Next would be the strong cyber governance. So organizations should establish proper digital evidence handling procedure. And to sum up, is the case actually needs to encourage stronger cybersecurity governance and better digital evidence practices. So the conclusions of this case would be these cases highlight the importance of procedural compliance and evidence integrity. Cybersecurity evidence must be supported by proper legal foundations, and court must balance transparency and procedural requirement. So the decision demonstrate that serious allegation cannot proceed unless the evidence and procedure are legally sound. And overall, the case set an important precedence for handling digital evidence in Malaysia. So, in conclusion, this case actually shows that cybersecurity evidence is not only about technology, but also about the legal compliance and fairness. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and have a good day. Assalamualaikum.